Hello everyone and welcome to How To with Mr. Steve. Today's how-to video, changing the battery in this 2016 Honda Pilot. Let's do it. Before we get started, I'm using a ratchet, a 10mm socket with a couple of extensions that just make it easier. You can use a wrench or some other tools, but this is the easiest for me. A Phillips screwdriver. This is a number 2. A number 1 would probably work also. And optional, but a pair of gloves if you want to keep your hands clean, keep the grease off you. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is remove this cowling that covers the front of the engine compartment here. And that's pretty easy. All we need to do is reach in and start popping it up. Now this lever needs to come through here, so pull the back up first and work it out the front. Same thing on the left here, just pop it up, make sure the back is loose, and then we're going to work our way down and slowly loosen all of these clips. One more, I believe. There we go. And then we're going to lift it up, work it over that lever, and set it to the side. All right, our next step is to remove 2 air intake pieces that sit on top of the battery. And in order to do that, we need to remove these 2 retaining clips here. Let me get the Phillips screwdriver and we'll get that done. So what we want to do is loosen the screw in the middle of this clip. Go ahead and take it all the way out. Apologize for the wind. Now this one, oh, it's coming. If you have a problem or they just seem to turn and not come out, just lift up a little bit on the housing here and it'll pinch it and help it come out. Go ahead and remove those. Now at this point, just go ahead and lift up and you can get these clips. Hopefully you can see that right out of there. Set those aside, don't lose them. Next, we want to take out this air intake piece. The only thing holding it in now that we've removed the clips is friction. That boot is on the end of it. All we need to do is get in here, wiggle it a little bit, and it pops right on out of there. Set that aside. Okay folks, we're down to the battery now. The first thing I like to do is remove this clip over here. Now mine slides right off. If you have trouble with yours, doesn't seem to want to come off, you can put your 10mm on here and give it a twist with your socket. But in my case, I can slide it off like that. And then we also want to remove this bottom piece of that connector and set it aside. Next, we want to loosen the bracket holding the battery down. We'll start over here on the left. And give it a couple of twists. Come over here, give it a couple of twists, make sure they're both loose. Now at this point, I just like to loosen it by hand. We're trying to get the hook out of the bottom, the hole down there in the bottom. So let's give it a few turns. That should be enough. If we wiggle it around, it slides right out of there. And then, since we've already loosened the tension on the bracket here, it shouldn't take too much to jiggle this one around. And then we can lift the whole thing out and set it aside. Okay, next we want to remove the terminals. And you always want to take the negative off first for safety measures. Get right down on the top there, give it a few twists. Doesn't take too many with this type of terminal, just till it's loose. And then we should be able to wiggle that loose, pull it off, set it to the side, let's lift this up, get our socket, a couple of turns. We should be able to loosen that one up. I like to tuck these down in the side if I can, just to get them out of the way. Get them out of the way when I go to pull the battery out. All right, the last thing we need to do before we can remove the battery is take the cover off. It's going to take a little maneuvering, but I think I can get it. And there it is, and set it aside. Okay, we can finally remove the battery. First thing you want to do is flip these two handles up. Now when I go to lift it out, I'm kind of leaning over the headlight here, and I'm going to be maneuvering it that way a little bit as I lift it to clear the connectors and things over on this side. I'm going to have to put the camera down to do this. It's pretty heavy. I'll be right back. Okay, folks, let's see how this goes. And there you go. We now have the old battery out. Be back with the new one. I'm back with the new battery. One thing you want to make sure of is that the battery says AGM on it. This is important for vehicles with auto start and a lot of accessories. Okay, here we go with the installation. I've sped things up, but want to make a couple of points as we go here. The procedure, of course, is the reverse of removing it, but I want to mention the cover. It's going to take a little bit to get that in. And in particular, this bracket's probably going to be about your most challenging part of putting things back together. Those hooks want to fall out of the holes down there as you're tightening the nuts. So you want to keep pressure on that bracket as you tighten them down. And you're going to see here in a moment that I adjust the battery. If you notice, it's not sitting flat like it should down in the case there. There's the adjustment. Now I can tighten that nut down. That hook is good over there. It's not going to fall out. There we go. And then I'll come over here. Had to mess with this one a little bit. It kept wanting to fall out. I almost have it. There it is. Alrighty. And then the next step after this, after you have those tightened down, is getting the battery terminals on. You want to put the positive on first. Tighten that down, close it up. Here goes the negative terminal. Put that on, tighten it up. And I'm putting that clip back on the rod there. Make sure you put that little washer piece underneath before you slide it back on. Get it adjusted. Next, I'm going to take a minute here to show putting these clips back in the air intake. There's little feet on the bottom that need to be inserted down into the hole there. You'll see I'll have a little problem with this one, and I'll reach back, get that little leg bit down in there. There we go. Now these screws you don't need the screwdriver for. Putting it back in, you can just set them in there and push them in. Push it right on down. Here's the other one. It's a little sticky. Had to give it a couple of pushes, but no problem. And finally, here's the cowling. Take your time, get it adjusted. They'll all pop in. And I'm showing the instruments here after you've put the new battery in. They're going to flicker when it starts. You'll see it in a moment here. But after they flicker for a moment, it's going to set to normal, and everything will be good to go from here on out. Here we go. Here we are starting it. There's the flicker. and everything's good. I hope you like the video. Like and comment, and I'll see you soon. Take care.